Okay. We have a quick 30 minutes today. Thought we would kick it off with some introductions, and then Brian is going to head into a quick presentation. We'll do a panel and then a Q&A. So for folks who are joining us, if you want to put your questions in the Q&A as we go throughout the presentation, then we will get to them at the end. So feel free to enter into the Q&A section as you think of your questions. But I'm Melissa Burdick, president and co-founder of Pacvue, a partner of all these great people here on the phone or webinar, whatever you want to call this thing. For those of us, this is probably our last webinar of 2021. I know a lot of us are probably pretty done with the year, so we can't wait. So thank you all for joining us. I know this is a really great topic. I'm going to introduce, so Molly Johannes, Todd Hassenfelt, and Brian Gillis. Will you guys introduce yourselves really quickly? Start with you, Molly, then Todd, then Brian, what your role is, what you do, and then we'll hand it over to Brian to start the presentation on ICIP, which you'll have to stay until the Q&A to know what that stands for.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Molly Johannes. I'm a key account manager on Henkel. I'm on our e-commerce team and lead our Instacart business. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Todd Hassenfelt. I'm the e-commerce director of growth strategy and planning at Colgate-Palmolive. We're proud to be a top company for executive women and working moms. Some of our brands besides Colgate-Palmolive include Hill's Pet Nutrition, Iris Spring, Elta MD Skincare, and Hello Products. And you should follow Craig Dubitsky, the founder of Hello. He's a great LinkedIn follow if you're interested. Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. Brian Gillis. I'm lead insights at CPG for now anyway, at Instacart. And my remit is basically to make your lives easier and give you better access to insights so you can really understand how consumers shop online for groceries and whether your strategies are paying off at Instacart. I feel like that's not a bad segue to my presentation, Melissa.
Go for it.
All right, let's hope this works. Everyone cross your fingers. Okay, can someone let me know if they see my green screen?
Perfect.
Okay, so for those of you who have seen me present before, I apologize. Some of this might be a tad repetitive, but hopefully there's some new learning in here, and we'll get to the panel as soon as possible. I came to Instacart because the data asset is just unparalleled. As you probably know right now, we have over 700 retail partners, 65,000 stores, lots of shoppers, lots of coverage, and really unique data sets from retailers or verticals that aren't typically data sharers. Now, everyone, relax. I'm not announcing that we're going to be retail data sharers, like retail specific next year. We are working on it, but everything is aggregated into total platform. Oh, sorry. Lovely. It'll come back. Don't worry. I don't know why it does that. Okay. So we actually have really three sources of data I like to talk about. Point of sale data, where we've worked very, very hard over the last 2 years to put all of our UPCs into a standard taxonomy. We use the Nielsen and IRI, but we default to the Nielsen category hierarchy, and that's live and up and running. So on POS data, we can tell people their distribution on our platform, how many stores they're in, what stores they're not in, their sales, their growth, and of course their share. I'm a big fan, lots of history in T-log data, where we're building tools, not online, not on demand yet, to allow us to have conversations around loyalty or basket metrics, which I'm going to talk about today, and availability data, which we're just scratching the surface on, because we derive all of the shopper data when they go into a store and they can't find a product on the shelf. We record that in real time. We also record what is substituted. So we have a wealth of information we're just starting to get around to dealing with. Well, that's a problem. I don't know how to turn that off. It's okay, we'll power through, we're all friends. Okay, we like to categorize what we do for our partners into 3 areas: leveraging POS data to answer questions like growth, distribution, share, what's driving my share, conversion, things like brand conversion, household penetration. We also do a lot of work on leveraging customer insights, diving into the basket, strategies, investment, are those driving conversion, keeping people in my brand, am I losing or gaining trial, etc. Working on more of a new product launch evaluator, which we'll probably launch in H2 of next year. And then, as I said before, leveraging our insights to really figure out what's going on in store, which you're going to see more from us next year. I apologize, I'm not good at my computer today. How you access our insights is really one of 4 ways, and they're concurrent and they overlap each other. One is we now have a customer insights portal you can access through Ads Manager. We have over 900 brands on that portal right now with about an 80% repeat engagement rate. In that portal, which I'll show you in a second, you can get access to sales, units, share over time. We have a monthly reporting suite, which we've actually relaunched this month, where everything's clean, no more PDF reports, it's all Excel-based. Those are updated every month for about 1,500 suppliers. We also have a team of about 35 people that do consulting, QBRs, work plan, deep dive, ad hoc questions for some of our top partners, two of which are on with me today. And then we have data integration, which we do for a few partners, which is incorporating our data into, we have a couple of API feeds going on and lots of SFTP. Highly interested in having those conversations with our partners to make it easier for you. A little bit of new news. The way you access our data is really through a tiering structure. I built this 2 years ago because one, we just didn't have the bandwidth to deal with 1,500 suppliers or 2,000 or 3,000, so we had to be selective. Two, we have a really rich data source in terms of our customer, our C-log, T-log data that we feel like we would absolutely work hard to give that to partners, but you had to be a partner really, which is an investment level of 5% or above to access that data. We had a tiering system of 5 last year. We're going into just a simple one of 3. We do listen to feedback. We want to make something very simple, much more democratic. We want something that keeps up with our abilities to access more suppliers, more vendors, more partners. And then we also want more data integration. So I know you're reading it ahead of me, but basically there's a freemium model. Anybody who invests even $1 in Instacart is going to be able to access full share, growth, and distribution metrics starting in middle of January. Anyone spending over 5% is going to be able to access through my team, because we haven't converted it into the portal yet, all of our customer insights. And then at a higher level, we're working on the API, data integration, including things like not found by store, by identified store. So actually with the retailer name on it, by UPC. So all that's in the works, but the big news is we're getting much more democratic with open access starting in January. The portal is up and running, as I said, with 900 brands. Right now you can log in and you can get access to sales, units, share by week. We do listen to feedback. One of the things that we're launching in the middle of January is UPC granularity. That will be available. We're also launching daily granularity. That will be available, I believe, January 17th. And big news for people in the CPG community, we're allowing you to toggle between fiscal and calendar week. So right now our platform is Sunday to Saturday. We're going to give you the ability to go Monday to Sunday and match what is generally what I'm learning most people's fiscal week. So custom time periods, saved reports, please go in and experiment. This is a free service that everyone should be using, I think. Other things that we have available through my team, and we're working hard. I know there's a lot of people I know very well in this crowd that are pushing me to work even harder to get this access on demand. We're not there yet. It's a heavy engineering lift, but we do things for our partners, such as measure household penetration, basket penetration, and what I'm passionate about, brand conversion over time. We have that at a very granular level across millions and millions of households. Two, we're publishing a lot more, and this is a very fast tool now, basket affinity data, where you can go in and understand what else is bought on that purchase across millions of baskets in grocery online. 3, my personal favorite, is we're able to follow consumers longitudinally, so we can understand whether consumers who you acquired 1 week, did they come back 12 weeks later? So did consumers lapse out of your brand, or were you able to maintain them? And where did they go? Did they exit the category completely, or did they go to a competitor? So that is available through my team at the moment. And then finally, we're doubling down on cross-shop next year. We have a tool now where we'll give a brand all of its cross-shops available to them, and so they can understand, if you're Hershey, are you selling chocolate syrup with ice cream or ice cream with chocolate syrup? When you did a key event and you advertised more, did you drive that behavior or did it lag? And so we're doing that across all brands for almost all of our partners. So you can really understand if your brand is a pasta, was it bought with pasta sauce, or is that still an opportunity? Kind of basic, but with really, really quick implications of how you can change your ad strategies. What are we working on for 2022? Number 1, of course, is that tiers revamp. I know I only gave you a preview. The sales team is armed with all the materials, but it's about access. We want to be very democratic as fast as we can. We want to be the place to learn about online shopping in the industry We want to be transparent. We want to leverage our advantage, which is near real-time data. It is updated every week, and in some cases with our API or SFTP files, it's updated every day. So there's no lag, like in Nielsen or IRI. 2, accuracy. We've struggled with this for 2 years. We will continue to struggle with it, of making sure we map every single one of our 4.5 million UPCs into the right place. We are open to help and open to changes, but right now we are tracking about 91% of our sales volume, and we want to work hard to close those other gaps. Also, for anyone on the line, we want to launch this in Canada. It's active right now, but we'll be fully active by the end of Q1, and all of our insights that exist in the US will exist in Canada. Last 2 things, actionability. That's huge feedback from the world out there is how can we link these to our ad performance? So things like brand conversion, we're working really hard on. Increased availability data, so you can literally send a case to a store that's out of stock, etc. And then advanced tools like I walked you through there. We are launching for our tier 1 partners, source of volume, customer segmentations, and we are partnering with a few vendors on online consumer decision trees. So that's what you can expect from me and my team in the upcoming year. That's it.
Awesome. You did awesome. Thank you. And you mastered Zoom after.
Oh, yeah, let's all switch to Google.
Let's not do that. Okay. So a quick icebreaker to the group before we get into our panel is, did you guys see anything kind of interesting or weird consumer behavior purchases during COVID or right after COVID? Molly, do you want to kick us off? And then Brian, when we get to you, can you please tell us what ICIP stands for? Because I promised that to the group.
I can.
Awesome. Yeah, one consumer behavior that we saw was really the impact of social media on purchase behavior during the peak of the pandemic. We own a brand called Borax, and a thing called laundry stripping went viral on TikTok, and we saw that brand take off. So it's been really interesting to see kind of the impact of that and how it translates to sales and retail.
You might have to explain what laundry stripping means, because I did not know what that means.
Yeah. So what you do is you put your clothes in the bathtub or your comforter, etc., and then you put borax, some powder detergent, some other things, and then you let it soak for a few hours. And what you get is a really gross bathtub water full of all the dirt and grime and stuff that was on your clothes. So super interesting trend that took off during the height of pandemic.
I wonder if we looked in the Instacart data, Brian, if we would see like liquid plumber also spiking.
Yeah.
That's what came to my mind. Todd, what about you?
I think just last week, I mean, it's ironic we're here with Instacart today, but they launched something on LinkedIn where you can type in either a zip code or a city, and there's like 12 different, fun facts, including like if your city was ahead or behind the feta TikTok pasta challenge, how much candy did your city buy? What's your sister city that bought similar items? If you haven't tried it, it's really fun. We've been playing around with it internally just to kind of see things, but great tool. And, I found a lot of interesting nuggets on that one.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out. Brian, what about you?
Our neat fact was at the peak of COVID, over 25% of our orders were to a secondary address. And it's usually moms buying for their parents. Anecdotal, but ICIP stands for, I chose this 2 years ago and I regret it. And if there's any real good brand marketers in the room, I'm happy to take suggestions, but it stands for Instacart Customer Intelligence Platform. It was aspirational because clearly we don't have a fully built out platform, but we are going to get there over time. So if you have name suggestions, I'm open to it.
Awesome. All right. Well, feel free to put your name suggestions in the Q&A. We've got a really quiet audience because otherwise you're just going to keep hearing from us, which is fine too. All right. So let's get on to the questions. The first one is, so Molly first and then Todd, how does this ICIP data help you? What data are you leveraging the most in decisioning, and are you uncovering more budget potentially because you have more access to data? So Molly, you want to kick us off with maybe the answer to that one?
Yeah, for sure. There is a plethora of data that we get supplied through ICIP that we're utilizing every day. And I think a couple big ones that really popped to me that we utilize quite frequently was the affinity data that Brian mentioned. We definitely utilize that to start to understand what's in the basket, understanding trip missions for our consumers, and then how do we build that promotions behind it or partnerships kind of across CPGs. The second one that we've really started to get behind is the item not found or the out of stock report. That's been a hot topic, I think, across the industry, and understanding kind of what your out of stock rate has been kind of paired with your walk rate and how consumers at that point of decision at shelf are choosing whether to stay within your portfolio or to leave the category or to competition. So we found those to be extremely beneficial in our conversations internally with our brand teams in driving our Instacart business.
Todd, what about you?
Yeah, just I agree with those, and to add on to the item not found one, there is so much you can do with that, right? Maybe you have a PDP issue where your title is confusing to Instacart shoppers, right? Maybe it's a reason for lower than expected sales for particular SKUs, if you're looking at that you would have not had without the Instacart data. And then I think it's great how Instacart not only gives you the out of stock rate or not found rate, but also then did the shopper or the consumer, via text, did they pick another one of your brands, a different SKU of the same brand, or did they go to a complete different brand? Did you lose them all together? So that can be kind of directional data to look at like brand loyalty. Encourage retailers to carry additional SKUs or have any, if there's any supply chain issues going on out there, have conversations about the importance of being in stock. I think some other ones, while Brian alluded to, there's not retailer data yet, but you do have regional data, and you can look at that, and at least you can look at some of your regional grocers. You can be more surgical with marketing or trade spend budget. If you're stronger in one region on Instacart but not another, you can be a little bit more specific there with support tactics like geo-based campaigns. And then I think the other one that's kind of interesting is new to brand metrics. You can identify for people that are new to Instacart, did they come and buy your brand? So maybe what they did in brick and mortar, are they carrying over to Instacart? But also then existing ones, that can kind of give you validation if your featured products are working, if a delivery promotion gave you a halo effect. But these penetration reports, combined with like a QBR reporting with your with the Instacart teams, you can figure out things like customer lifetime value. They'll give you how many days in between purchases. So this is a lot of data you may not get elsewhere.
And do you guys have any examples of some of those co-branding events or something that you might have done based on the data that you saw, partnership or promotion that you guys did based on it?
Yeah, in a previous life, I was previously at Simple Mills. There was a cross promotion with Ithaca Hummus during last year's Super Bowl, looking at some affinity data. But I think that affinity data is so helpful to kind of find those kind of cross promotions, and it does have success really connecting with consumers.
Awesome. So next question is who is consuming this data internally? A trend that I've seen, especially in this last year, is kind of everyone hiring e-commerce analysts to consume and do something with this data. Who is consuming the data at your company? Is it a new role? Is it a team that is accessing this data besides yourselves? Who's consuming it?
I can
go for it.
From a Henkel perspective, we have an e-commerce team that we're utilizing this data for amongst our team, as well as sharing this out. I think a big thing that we found is sharing this data. Again, Instacart has a wealth of data for us to share across not only our brand teams but our field sales team. It's been really impactful in helping us move the needle.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for brands out there, whether they are or not yet, you can use all those examples. You have everything on there. If you're kind of comparing your search or featured product, performance, from ROAS, but also your spend, impressions, cost per clicks, and you can see having those internal conversations about budget fluidity, can kind of do a compare and contrast. For your innovation team or for your brand teams, if you have unique UPCs out there with either innovation or maybe a club SKU, you can see with the data, how it's performing, and especially from the featured product standpoint, you can give early reads to those partners so they buy into whatever you are testing. And then maybe if you have, like with the sales team, a low performing SKU that's, in store, it's doing really well on Instacart. You can look at that by, the kind of the clicks or the click-through rate. Might mean a discussion about getting, better in-store shelf placement, more SKUs. So it can really be versatile across many departments, and you should always be showing it to finance, try and unlock more investment.
Awesome. All right. So next question, and Brian, let's have you answer this one first. So basket building is such an important concept to CPGs, and on Instacart especially. ICIP data can show you what else your customers are buying, as we've been talking about. How can a brand use this data for bundling, advertising, and other strategies? So these guys just said kind of that answer that same question. But can you speak to anything beyond what they mentioned? How others are using this?
A little bit, but I won't add a ton. One, just to acknowledge, sometimes our ability to generate insights is ahead of our ability to act on them. I think Instacart right now is where we are. Is that a lot of this stuff where we're going is you're going to be able to talk to those consumers that get identified through some of these basket insights. So, but right now I would say we're using it in a couple of ways. One is to identify a behavior you didn't know about. So maybe, over Halloween, the chocolate and candy manufacturers should be adding in things like, other snacks that we'll be able to identify that with them through the basket analysis. Like, don't avoid that snack. It's actually very appropriate for Halloween or Easter. So a lot of key event analysis, I think, is what most of my team is focused on, is how do I make Easter and Thanksgiving and Christmas better by using this data. The second would be to evaluate what you thought was going to happen. So if you're planning a big event on, I don't know, Super Bowl, and you wanted to get multiple of your brands in the same basket, we can evaluate how that went on the Monday after Super Bowl. That's how fast we can evaluate it and course correct. And then I think the last thing that we haven't talked hugely about is about shopper profiling, or mission profiling. So we identified for a pet food manufacturer that the vast majority of our pet food is bought on non-food shops. And so it isn't bought with avocados, bananas, and bread. It's bought with garbage bags and household and shampoo and personal care. So just that I think helps create strategies long-term for how they invest in our platform.
Awesome. So Brian, sticking with you for a second, can you talk about category share? This is such a big thing across Amazon and other platforms that people are always looking for their category share. So can you talk a little bit about how ICIP data helps brands understand their category share? And then maybe Molly can speak to incremental share and budget.
True. So it was the first thing we really had to work on, because I went to a million top to tops, and 99% of the CMOs in the industry have share as their number one or two KPI, especially when we're the fastest growing vertical, not just us, but like e-com. Nobody wants to be share dilutive on e-com. So we had to actually create a measure of, are you gaining share? So we did the hard work of putting it into the Nielsen standard hierarchy, complemented by IRI. It doesn't match everyone's needs, but it's at least a common language in the industry now. And people are using it to get very dynamic, Melissa. So not only department share, but category share to subcategory share. So we are able to understand how your strategies are impacting, like your decaffeinated coffee pod share, not just your total coffee, and seeing, is your money is it being used effectively?
Molly, can you speak a little bit to incremental share and budgeting?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the ICIP data really gives us the opportunity to double click into what's driving those share metrics, whether that be the decomp chart or understanding the impact of our media spend on our category share. We've also found it to be extremely helpful to benchmark Instacart against other e-commerce platforms, as well as offline channels, to assess whether or not we're getting our fair share. And then that again invites a conversation with our internal stakeholders to devise a game plan on how we help close any of those share gaps.
Awesome. All right. So I know we have 5 minutes left. We have just a couple more questions and we'll get to Q&A. So folks, type in your questions. Okay. So how does ICIP data help you know your investment on Instacart is working? And what does working mean? Todd, let's start with you.
I think there's a number of ways. I mean, one, through QBRs and some other data coming here, you can look at your share of category overall and see if that's improving or not. But a recent one that I believe is going to be launched here shortly is share of category where carried. So if you don't have distribution everywhere, you can now see, are you outcompeting the competition where you are? And that changes the dynamic, both internally and how you view your performance. I think you can look at like daily budgets versus maximize impressions campaigns for featured products. You can see the difference in performance there. You look at, things I've been a part of, great QBRs with like, Sam Huss and Ray McNally, but, early carts, how important it is to get into an early cart, and that difference of average order value, if you got in the first one versus the 4th week or 8th week or 12th week. I mean, there's a lot of retention tactics too. It's not just about new to brand, but retention metrics, do you have lapsed users if you decreased investment? And always kind of looking at the importance of always on. So there's a lot of these comparison metrics, as well as user metrics of retention, as well as the new to brands that can prove, that your investment is working or not.
Awesome. Molly, do you have anything to add to that? It was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say like the exact same thing. And I think it really just helps you to elevate the conversation internally outside of just a straight ROAS conversation. You can really bring in those other metrics to tell the full story.
Okay, really quick before we get to the questions, Brian, is there a way that people can, how do you take feedback from people in the audience or from your customers to constantly improve this data?
So super great question. Right now, it's sort of passive. We get feedback through our hundreds of QBRs. We do, I think, 500 a year now. So from our partners, very direct feedback on data access, data integrity, what are we doing next? We are building, and look forward in Q1, a tab within the Insights portal where you can give us direct feedback. That'll be focused on 2 things. 1, do we have your products in the right home? And 2, how can we help with access to data, training, et cetera? So those are generally the 2 ways.
Awesome. Okay, let's get to a couple of questions. So where are brands able to access affinity data? Is that through ICIP or does it need to be requested ad hoc?
Which data? I'm sorry?
The affinity data.
That has to be requested through my team. And if you don't know, the sales team has a very good idea of how to get to us. And we are getting fast at this stuff, but it's not in the portal yet. It'll probably take till H2 to get a lot of that stuff into the portal.
And then another question is, Todd hit on another good point. Launching new products is obviously a huge priority for many CPG brands. Is there a specific or unique playbook or set of strategies that have become best practice for new products versus existing? It's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I can say from experience, one is before it even hits the shelves in stores, communication. Make sure that all your buyers, that your retailers have set up the UPC or UPCs ahead of time so it hits, that's on Instacart quicker if you let it versus letting it go organically. I think you have to be ready also with looking at featured product campaigns to make sure you're allocating the right amount of investment and looking, being very active with keywords and looking how it performs. And then another one is, Instacart has delivery promotions. That's a great one, not only to, build basket of your most popular items, but, throw in on both the image on the banner as well as making sure it's part of the selection to try and get that trial. So those are a few things that have worked, as well as driving any traffic from social, to Instacart, calling out the new SKUs.
Go for it, Brian. Were you going to say something?
A really important tip is as we get data from the retailers as to when a new product hits the shelves. To be super honest with the community here, we kind of struggle at this. And so anything you can do to help us identify a new product is coming, we'll be able to get it into our storefront faster. Because remember, it's an algorithm from the retailer that lets us know it's on the shelf. And often new products sell out very quickly and we get suppressed. And so our new product launch curve is much delayed versus brick and mortar. So happy to work with any partner if they know a new product launch is coming up to do the best we can on that.
Awesome. Well, guys, we've hit 30 minutes. We promised short and sweet. This is a really great format. I think it was super helpful to the community to hear a lot about this data. Sounds like January is a big launch date for Instacart data for everyone. So maybe we can do another one of these that quarter. But thanks everyone, Molly, Todd, Brian, and all of you on the phone for your time, and look forward to doing more of these more often.
Thanks,
everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye.